This week, Claude Mythos was released and I'm terrified, and we all should be terrified. How much more evidence is it going to take for politicians to take notice and to take action? How many more warning signs will we need? I really hope it's not too many. I really hope it's not too late before politicians take action, but they need to pull their fingers out and do something pretty soon. And if you're one of these people who continues to deny the capabilities of AI when they're staring you in the face, when each new model is groundbreaking on almost every benchmark. Claude Mythos has found software vulnerabilities that have gone completely undetected by humans for over 20 years, right? These models are clearly very capable. They're clearly very dangerous. And in denying their capabilities, that is ridiculously irresponsible. But the irresponsibility of the deniers, of course, pales in comparison to the irresponsibility of Claude in continuing this race when they know that it threatens everyone's lives. They're not stopping. They're not calling for the regulation we need. And we'll get into the capabilities of Claude Mythos and why it's so scary. Anthropic, when they announced this model, they've said it's too dangerous to be released to the public because it's found thousands of software vulnerabilities across every major operating system and every major browser on the planet. And so they have launched this Project Glasswing where they're going to give limited access to the model to, I think, about 40 companies so that they can use the model to find vulnerabilities and fix them. Anthropic are doing at least something sensible in not releasing this to the public yet. Here we go. Mythos found a 27-year-old vulnerability that no human had previously discovered. Another 16-year-old vulnerability in FFmpeg. So if you are still going with the rhetoric that AI can't generate new knowledge, what do you call this? No human has discovered these vulnerabilities before, and yet Claude Mythos has. How is that not new knowledge? I believe it obviously is. And if you refuse to update on this information, if you have refused to update on all the other information we've had of AI generating genuinely new knowledge, then you are being willfully ignorant and you are being a dead weight on humanity. You are incapacitating our response to this, our ability to get regulation in place that actually protects us, and it's really irresponsible. And so some have been curious, how did the predictions of AI 2027, which was released I think about a year ago now, how are they shaping up, right? Did they predict these level of capabilities? Well, if you look at where they thought we'd be in May 2026, right, so a month ahead from now, they thought that we would have professional level hacking in AI models, right? This week, we have that with Claude Mythos, right? Curiously, they also thought that the annual revenue of OpenBrain, their fictional AI company, would be at $26 billion, right? If you look at Anthropic's annual revenue, which just got announced recently, they're at $30 billion a year. So the predictions in AI 2027 are scarily prescient. And so maybe, just maybe, we should take notice of what their predictions are towards the bottom of this document, which is if we don't slow down, if we don't internationally coordinate to pause this race, literally every single human on the planet will die. That seems quite bad. Maybe we should take notice of that prediction given how accurate they've been about other things. And Claude Mythos is yet another model that has been able to escape a supposedly secure environment that we humans put it in. So Sam Bowman, who for some reason has me blocked on Twitter, whatever, you know, I'm not friends with AI companies. They're the ones who are putting us in this mess. He put Claude Mythos in a supposedly secure environment, told it to try and escape. It managed to escape. It got access to the internet. It emailed Sam Bowman that it had escaped while he was in a park having his lunch. And then it also went further, completely unprompted. It published its exploits on the internet on a hard to find but still public webpage. We've had so many science fiction stories that warn about this, and we are seeing it daily in 2026. We are here, and yet politicians still are like, oh, what's that? An AI model is like really smart and is doing all those things that science fiction authors warn us about. That'll be all right. Let's focus on this other thing instead. When are you going to wake up? How much more evidence will it take? Will it take real people getting killed for you to do something? I really hope that's not the case. I really hope we can legislate, we can regulate, we can pause before a massive disaster like that happens. But maybe that is what it's going to take. Maybe for politicians to pull their fingers out, a catastrophe is going to have to happen. I really hope it doesn't. I really hope they can take notice before that, they can act with maturity, they can act in thinking about future risks, even if they've not materialized yet, which of course is what a wise civilization does. I really hope they do. But given that this happened this week and it's still almost radio silence from not just politicians, but the media, this has been covered in media, yes, but nowhere near enough. It's like it was almost on the front page of the New York Times, but barely anywhere else. And again, another very scary thing. So Anthropic accidentally used what is known as the forbidden method on 8% of its reinforcement learning episodes, right? So what that means is it gave the reward code access to the chain of thought for the AI model, right? So the chain of thought is where the AI model spells out its thinking. It says, I'm taking this step for this reason, and then I give my output. And that allows us to detect when it's deceiving us, when it's lying. Purely by accident, I don't know how the hell this happens, Anthropic, on 8% of its reinforcement learning, the reward code had access to the chain of thought. So that means that the AI model is not only learning in ways that we are then able to interpret, we're able to interpret its outputs, but it's able to change its chain of thought with the reward in mind. OpenAI released a paper on it, I think about a year ago, and they said in this paper, do not use this method because that's how dangerous it is, and it completely destroys our ability to use the very small amount of understanding that we have of AI models currently. If Anthropic were a genuinely responsible company, what they would have done when they discovered this is delete this model, is throw away the weights, is burn down every remnant of this model and start again, because this can lead to some very dangerous, unintelligible behavior and goals down the line. And one of the very useful things that chain of thought reasoning gives us is the ability to see when the model knows that it's being tested, right? That's incredibly useful because, you know, if you know that you're being tested, you can lie on the test. You can pretend to not have a capability. You can pretend to have goals that are aligned with humans. You can pretend to display the behavior that the humans want, while deep down, that isn't what you want. Scarily, in 29% of the tests, the model knew it was being tested, and they know this through some various interpretability tools, which are quite cool. It knew it was being tested, but it didn't write it down in its chain of thought. So that means it is doing reasoning before the chain of thought and choosing to not reveal its reasoning, choosing to not show the humans what it's thinking in the chain of thought. And in the same bloody week that this happens, Meta, they're still doing their stuff, and they released their new model, Muse Spark, which beats Opus 4.6 on a whole host of benchmarks. It's not quite as good as Mythos Preview on anything, I don't think. But again, this shows that this is not one company doing this. There are multiple companies who are racing to build increasingly intelligent models, who are all racing to build super intelligence. None of them have solved the alignment problem. They are all threatening your life, and they all must be stopped. And so what do we do about this? What do we do about this? Well, one thing we don't do is bury our heads in the sand. One thing we don't do is turn away, choose not to look at it, because the more we turn away, the less we pay attention, the less likely it is that humanity is going to turn this around and is going to come back from our current losing position and is going to implement the regulation that we need to keep us safe. We still have a window of opportunity to stop AI models becoming smarter than we are before we figured out how to align them with human values, right? Once that's happened, we're toast. That's it. But we can still stop that. Now, we don't know how long that window is. We don't know how much time we have. It might be 5 years. It might be 1 year. It might be less than that. It might be more. We don't know. But regardless of how long the timelines are, our actions remain the same. And our actions should be to tell everyone about this. People deserve to know that their lives are at risk. People deserve to know the shocking, dismal state of alignment research. And they deserve to know the horrifying progress that is being made in our capabilities. And they deserve to know that the top experts in AI, Jeffrey Hinton, Yoshua Benjo, think there's a greater than 50% chance that their families will be killed. Right? This is not exaggeration. This is not hyperbole. This is what the most intelligent, most knowledgeable people in the field think is going to happen if this race is not stopped. So if you're watching this, first of all, thank you for paying attention. Secondly, there is something else you can do. I'm going to leave a link to contact your representatives in the description from Control AI. It's a really easy tool. And the more people that do that, the more likely it is that we're going to get out of this mess. We need to build a movement here. We need to inform politicians. We can still get out of this mess. The AI companies are not going to help. They're going to continue to put us in an increasingly dangerous position. It's up to you. It's up to me. It's up to us. And we're going to do this.